What's up, guys? In today's episode we're discussing if buying a bigger plant is better than buying a smaller plant. Some of you guys think that bigger plants are stronger, easier to care for than smaller plants. And smaller plants are very fragile and they're gonna die. So if you just starting gardening, it's best for you to buy a bigger plant, right? Well, that's a common belief out there, and I can tell you, you're wrong. So if you want to find the reasons why, make sure you keep on watching. Check this out. Here in my nursery, I have all plant sizes. I have little plants, I got bigger plants. Now, this right here are 15-gallon Pakistan mulberry trees, right? They're huge, about 10, 12 feet tall, massive. This right here are 5-gallon pineapple guavas right here. This right here are 5-gallon Pakistan mulberry trees. Obviously, the smaller containers are gonna be cheaper than the bigger ones, right? And that is true for most nurseries out there. Reason why you have smaller plants is because, well, just like you and I, plants need to grow. As the plants grow, they get bigger. But in the meantime, you can put them in different container sizes so that way people can buy them. Are they better? Are they worse than buying a bigger plant? Well, let's go ahead and talk about that right now. This right here is the henna plant, also known as mehendi. This plant right here is a 4-inch pot starter size that I sell here in my nursery. A lot of the plants that we sell at the nursery, we usually have them in this size. We also have them smaller, but usually smaller than that I don't sell them because they're like babies. And just like a baby, you know, they're more sensitive to the sun, the cold, and blah blah blah. So they will die a lot easier because they are in the baby stage. Now this plant right here is ready to go. This will take full sun, even 120-degree direct sunlight right now. But guess what? You gotta water it. Because this plant right here, if you don't water it, within an hour, you will lose entire canopy. This canopy right here for henna plants, guess what? It will take you a year to regrow. In just 1 hour of the plant going dry. 2-3 hours, this plant is dead. 4-inch pot right here. Now let's say you come into a nursery, whether it's mine or anybody else's, it doesn't really matter because plants are just the same everywhere. Maybe you want to buy a bigger plant like this right here, right? This plant on my nursery in this size, they're like 80 bucks. Yeah, and guess what? With inflation, they're probably going to be even more expensive in the future. Now this plant right here in this container, it's about coming up to 2 years old from the size that you saw earlier. This plant's bigger, obviously. It's in a bigger container. So it has a bigger root system, right? Is this plant stronger than the baby one over here? No, it's not. This plant right here will die just as fast as that one over there in full sun, especially if you don't water it. So buying a bigger plant, in this case right here, it's not gonna benefit you. What's my recommendation? If I have this plant for sale and you don't mind starting smaller like this, get the big, smaller one. It's a lot cheaper. Now if you want instant gratification, get the bigger one right there. You start with a bigger plant so you can brag to your friends that you have a bigger plant. That's it. Now you also have to understand, this plant right here is in a bigger container. So it has a lot more surface area. It has a lot more potting mix in there to hold water. So that plant over there may take longer to go dry than this little one right here. This little one right here, right now on my nursery in temperatures of 110 to 120 degrees every single day, it's drying out on me 2 to 3 times a day. So that's how often I'm watering this plant. This bigger plant right here is drying out on me twice a day. So obviously this bigger plant right here will go a little longer in the sun before it goes dry than this one. But that is just because of the container size and how much potting mix there is in there. But the plant in general, that bigger one right there is no stronger than this one. This one has been acclimated to the sun. This one has been acclimated to the sun. They will both take full sun. So in my experience, buying the smaller plant is a better deal. Now, the main misconception people have is bigger plants are stronger. Just because you buy a 25-gallon guava, it means that it's gonna live longer. It's gonna take a lot more cold, a lot more sun, a lot more drought than a 5-gallon guava right here. Just because it's a lot bigger. That is wrong. For plants, the root system it's what makes them stronger. And that time starts in the ground, not in the container. In container, for most plants will not be fully developed in a container ever. They need to be in the ground. This is why most plants, once you put them in the ground, they take at least 1 year to root themselves in the soil if the temperatures are right and the light is right. If they're not, they're gonna take even longer. And that is providing you take care of the plant. If you don't take care of your plant, it's going to take even longer than a year for the plant to root itself in the ground before it starts to grow. Why am I talking about this? Well, today I just got an order online, and the message that I got with the order was interesting. It actually pissed me off because it's probably not the person's fault. What pissed me off is the misinformation that prompted this person to even think about that. So this person ordered a 4-inch starter size henna plant, mehendi. I'm the only one that I know of online that sells this size. Most people sell like little baby plants, and obviously they're not acclimated right outside or right out of a greenhouse, and though obviously those plants will die a lot easier. I understand that. That is not what I do though. So that's number one why I was upset about this, because that's what most sellers online do, because most people don't want to wait until the plants are a little bigger, so that way they get acclimated to the sun, so they don't get shocked from not being acclimated to go from a full cushy environment like a greenhouse to outside in the weather. That has nothing to do with the plant size. That is mainly because it was not acclimated. Anyways, the person ordered this plant right here, right? Bigger, smaller, doesn't matter. I make it very clear in my description what you're going to be getting, and that is something similar to this. And they wanted a mature plant because baby plants die very easily, and bigger plants are going to be better. Well, check this out. Like I said, if you don't take care of this plant right here, it will die just as quickly as that one over there. But the way they actually ask this question, I know exactly their mentality. And their mentality is, probably they do like gardening like I do. They are probably new to gardening, and they have been listening to all the misinformation there is online. And I know that they believe bigger plants are better. And if the plants die, it's not because they didn't take care of the plants, it's not because they didn't water the plants, it's because it was a baby plant. I guarantee you that they have been through many plants already, and they keep all dying because they're not taking care of them, because they don't have the right information. Is that their fault? No, it's the system's fault for putting out all this misinformation out there. But this type of customer, I know if I ship them this plant right here, which is beautiful, it's amazing. This is one of the best plants you will ever find online for henna or mehendi. I know if I ship it to them and they miss watering just by a few hours, and they live in an area with extreme temperatures like mine here in Arizona, this plant is dead in a matter of hours. And I know if I ship it to them, I know it will get to them healthy. It will look probably just like this. I've shipped hundreds of plants online, so I know exactly how my plants look when they arrive. But I know if they kill it, the first thing that was going to come to mind is this was a baby plant, and that's the reason why it died. Not because they didn't water, not because they didn't read my instructions, not because they didn't watch my videos, because I didn't send them a massive plant for the price they were paying. Even if I was able to ship them something like this, shipping for something like this, guys, is extremely expensive. Like almost $100 to ship a plant like this to like the East Coast. Yeah, shipping is very expensive. Shipping costs more than the actual plant itself, and that's the reason why I don't ship bigger plants, because it's just a hassle. But I know even if I ship them that plant, that will still look like a little baby for them. And if they killed it, they will still blame it on the plant being a little baby. So instead of actually dealing with this type of customer, I have dealt with hundreds of people like them, and I know exactly how to spot one from a mile away. I just cancel their order, because I know whatever happens to that plant, they're gonna blame it on the plant. They're not gonna blame it on them not taking care of the plant. So it's a lot easier to just avoid the headaches, the frustration, by canceling the order, losing the money, which money is not an issue. I don't care about the money. I care about my plant more than the money. And everybody's happy. They can go buy their plant somewhere else. They can keep killing it, and they can keep blaming it on the plants being babies. A lot of my plants that I have here, they started their lives as babies. Yes, babies, all of them. This little double crepe jasmines right here, they're growing beautifully, flowering right now. They started as babies. Yes, from little cuttings actually, about 6 inches tall. Look at them now. They're about 3 to 4 feet tall, new growth, beautiful shiny leaves, and flowering. Yeah, but this plant right here, it will die just as quickly as a little plant if you don't water it right now. Now, I'll be fair with you. That is not true for some plants, okay? So let's talk about when it's beneficial for you to buy a bigger plant. So let's say you're in the market for a jaboticaba, like this plant right here. This jaboticaba right here, easily over 6 years old in this container. This plant is one of the slowest growing plants that I have here in my nursery. So if you're in the market for a jaboticaba and you have the money to spend, go ahead and buy the bigger plant. Now, you're buying it because you got a bigger plant to start with. That will save you years of growth, especially if you live in a non-tropical area. But that's it. This plant is no stronger than a smaller plant just because you're buying a bigger plant. What you're buying is the size of the plant, okay? This plant will still taking my area up to 2 years to root itself in the ground fully, because this is a very slow growing plant. In my honest opinion, that is the only time when I really push to buy a bigger plant, because you're saving time. Another example is over here. This is a variegated bayrum, extremely rare. These plants are super old. I don't know exactly how old, but I've had these plants for probably about 3 years, and where they came from, South Florida, they were probably easily 5 years old in the containers. But I got them because they're very slow growing plants, very rare, and I bought the size because I wanted a bigger tree to look at. Now this big plant right here is no stronger than a smaller plant because it's still in the container. Remember, your plants will only become stronger once you put them in the ground, not in the container, because these containers right here will not hold a full-size bayrum. Naturally, the root system of most plants will spread out a lot farther away than the actual canopy of the plant, and that is not possible in containers, and that is the reason why even if you do get a bigger plant, they're not stronger than a little plant. Now remember, I'm not talking about little seedlings, plants that are not acclimated to the outside environment, the sun, the wind. Obviously those little plants will die because they're babies, just like you. But as they grow and they actually get acclimated to the outside, they're no different than a bigger plant. Hopefully you got something out of this video. I'm not hating on bigger plants. I have bigger plants. I sell all sizes here for most plants because we do grow a lot of our plants here. But when people come to my nursery with the misconception bigger plants are stronger, I immediately know the mindset they're in. And I teach them, I school them. And I would say 99.9% of the people out there listen. You know why they listen? Because I'm saving them money. I'm not taking their money. If you ever go to a nursery and the first thing out of their mouths is you need to buy a bigger plant because they're stronger, they're gonna take neglect and they're gonna live past your lack of care, I will immediately make an about face, which is you turn 180 degrees and walk out of that nursery, because they're lying to you. That nursery is not honest. They're just trying to take your money. When people come to my nursery and they're looking for a little plant or any plant in general, and I have smaller sizes, I always 100% of the time push for the little plants, always. And you know I'm not lying, because I dare any of my customers out there say otherwise. The only people that are gonna say otherwise are just gonna be haters that all they like to do is just hate, and they're gonna lie. But everybody that has come to my nursery and bought any plants, I always push for the smaller ones, because I know the little ones are cheaper, and for a lot of the smaller ones, they tend to grow very quickly, like the mulberry trees, for instance. But anyways, if you like the video, don't forget to like it. If you have any questions, comment below. And as always, I will talk to you next time.